Okay, give me a second here. I get my notes in order, and we'll get started here. By the way, I asked both Ricky and Zem who I should talk to, and both of them recommended you.
Oh. Well,
you were on. You made the list both times.
Hey. It's like I was just kind of trying to base it off of like people that I knew like actively ran the category.
There you go.
It's like I know Sable originally approached me about like that. That's where I started working on like not really a script, but writing everything I knew down of like the early history because I had been wanting to work on a documentary styled video myself. It's been an on and off project about the charge boots, just like and how they've been the progression of stuff. So with there being parallels, I'm happy to share the information for that.
Oh, absolutely. That sounds like a sick video.
It's one of those where it's like my motivation with it waxes and wanes. So it's like there's times where it's like I really want to go in on it, and then others where it's like, I can play Genshin and roll the gachas.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah, I think a lot of times whenever we go into a community and we're like, hey, we want to do a video, it's like, dude, we want to do a video, but like we get motivated for a week, then things get tough, and then we get distracted, and then we don't come back to it, and then like a year later, we're like, dude, what about that video? Oh man, we gotta go back to it. So.
Mine's been procrastinating for like 3 months, probably more.
Yeah, trust me. I understand the sentiment. So, all right. Okay, let's get this started officially. So,
all right.
Alrighty. So, tell me about yourself, Torpedo.
Well, I'm Torpedo, and my main forte is Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, New Game Plus, no IMG. It's pretty much the sole category I've ran in that game for about 3 years, because it's, in my opinion, it's one of my favorite categories because speed conservation, I've noticed in a lot of games, isn't really there. It's usually like, can you do this specific set of movements to go through this level quickly? Where it's like, Mario 64 might just be like getting precise wall jumps out in certain spots or getting specific jumps done. Whereas in Ratchet, it's like, you have your way to generate speed on the spot and then control what you do with that. As well as the speed that you carry from those allows you to do various things out of it. So it's like, I guess I can say it's more specifically Going Commando and Up Your Arsenal are both very grounded in that sort of speed conservation mechanic, even if it might be in other games.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I wish more games had speed. That's a good way to put it. Speed conservation, right? About building speed and then keeping that speed as you like just bounce all over.
Like, if you ever want to see like it's the idea of speed conservation and stuff. Mainly, we call it a lot of neutral tech, because a lot of it just works because the stick is neutral. A lot of that stuff actually was made like as far back, or it wasn't made, but it was discovered and used. Video proof dates back to, in my own search, 2008.
Wow.
And Up Your Arsenal multiplayer.
Oh yeah, and the multiplayer.
Probably before that as well. It's just 2008 was the earliest recorded footage I could find.
Yeah. Plus, YouTube wasn't like a thing until what?
Late 06, I think.
Yeah. So,
oh, 05.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like one more video out there, but there's probably not a lot of videos before 2008 or so.
How could I forget about me at the zoo?
How familiar are you with the Ouya stuff, the multiplayer stuff, and how that transferred over to no IMG?
I wasn't there to see it myself. I did mess with the tech myself on my own time back in about 2011, but a lot of it again was contained in the multiplayer. I've just like with the sources that I've talked to, because in previous talks I've had, I was able to reach out to Insomniac Nintendo, to Sippy, there's a couple others in here, to Slaughter. I think I I tried getting hold of Eternity, but Eternity was busy with stuff.
Mhm.
So it's like I've gotten in touch with a fair bit of like the old boys,
Mhm.
and basically while I wasn't there to see it get adopted, pretty much everyone that I went to all pretty much said like a lot of GC stuff came from Ouya originally because Silence. That's a name
Mhm.
that probably got thrown around for you already.
Yep.
So the story of that, it's like the introduction of like the Ouya multiplayer tech into single player started around Silence. The tech had been known in multiplayer for again since early, like before 2000, like yeah, around 2008. Words are hard,
It's all
and
good.
it really went under the radar and like on the Americans or the non-Japan side of things for a while because most of what the charge rates were is what they were used for casually, kind of going through corridors fast.
Mhm.
And then that's when Nuka literally just on a whim one day looks up Ratchet and Clank speedrun in Japanese. And that's where they came across the Silence video. And it was like a holy crap, what is all this? Like that sort of same deal you get as a casual viewer watching a speedrun. But like
Mhm.
speedrunners all of a sudden finding out that like all this existed and was being used.
Yeah,
And
I imagine.
so a lot of the GC progression comes from Up Your Arsenal because early on it was seen as Diet Ouya. And since they have pretty much kind of similar movement engines, there's some nuances that are different. But since their
Mhm.
movement engines as a whole are pretty similar, it once Silence's run came about and activity in Ouya went up from it, it had basically a trickle down effect into GC where it's like, all right, these work here. Even some tech that's in Ouya worked in GC, such as wrench jumps. Instead, you don't have to hold L1 and hit the whip. You just mash square with a wrench, and then you just get a mid-air wrench swing.
Mhm.
It does have the unfortunate thing, though, of being black. Like, it's very version dependent because Greatest Hits PS2 has all the stuff patched. So, like, in some ways, the devs were aware of it.
Mm.
But Black Label NTSC, PAL, and PAL Platinum actually all have this movement tech.
Interesting.
So, the earliest runs, I know Deathfire's one, I think, was performed on Greatest Hits because I'm pretty sure you couldn't. I'm pretty sure he didn't spam charge, which that's like one of the telltale signs you're on Greatest Hits is if you can't spam charge. Which do you want me to like be explaining like what the little bits of tech are as I go, or is it like have you guys already really looked into it?
Spam charging is actually one I haven't heard of before. You're literally the first person to say the words to me, spam charge. So tell me
Oh,
what that is.
you just like keep hitting R1, and instead of Ratchet skidding to a halt and then charging again, he like for a split second leaves the charge animation, then goes right back into it.
Okay.
It's like basically it's a way to kind of tell versions apart. So
Okay.
once that got discovered that it worked on Black Label, that's where it was kind of like, wait, this game doesn't suck. That's a really poor way to word it, but it was like it was very limited in what you were able to do before because you had very limited neutral tech
Mhm.
of what you could do and first person climbing. So the Ouya multiplayer's discoveries is what I'd say is the beginning of modern Rack 2 speedrunning.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that a lot. And I based on what I've seen and the research I've done, it's definitely like whenever that's discovered and that tech is ported over to going commando, that's when everything changes.
Like there was it's weird to explain because there was still a bit of like time where you had a lot of like the speed conservation and stuff to go through and your wrench jumps and stuff were known, but it wasn't as widely used yet because while you did have these speed conservation techniques,
Mhm.
there really wasn't much of a thing to use them with besides like maybe getting a little bit further out with a jump. And of course that all changed once who was it? It was Squonk that originally I think found the decoy like almost proxy high jumps.
Mhm.
for all platinum bolts, and then Scotto Bozo adapted them into, well, the proxies we use today, and he did it in no specials, which
Yeah.
from his experience with no specials, that was used in a lot of places. It let you skip Clank entirely in that category, because since you couldn't use first person, you weren't able to do the wall climb on Tabora to get up that ledge. So proxies being found there were like the other key that was needed to basically break Going Commando out of Ouya's own shadow.
There you go. Are you really familiar with the with Scotto and his no specials grind?
A little bit. I'm more knowing of like the tail end of it, because I started running in July 2017, but I didn't really interact with the community much until I literally until they literally dragged me into the Discord in like November. Like I was like I was messing with the game one day, and like, because even though I say I've been speedrunning for 6 years, it was mostly like that sort of casual try a game out, go fast with it. So Going Commando, learning that in 2017 was the first speed game I actually took seriously.
Right.
But I didn't know where to start with going about it. So I just kind of watched runs and did that. That's when Scotto came into my stream in November 2017. I was just doing no IMG stuff on my own time. And he's like, yo, so you should look at the no specs world record, and like, this is a lot of stuff that you could adapt into your runs. I'm just like, all right, that looks pretty chill. And that's where I was shown proxies. That's why I'm not so sure on the original date that they were found, or the time frame.
That's all
I just know I was introduced to them in 2017.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was going to ask roughly when you had sort of joined the community, so that answers my question.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that I've gathered, I've learned like the early history of it.
Gotcha. Okay, I see you have some runs on your profile. Looks like around February of 2018.
Yeah, that's when I started actually submitting. Like once I got into the Discord, I had a little bit of like a stupid mindset when it came to that. It was like, I didn't want to submit a run if I didn't feel good about it. Like, and it's that sort of trap you fall into where it's like, you don't feel satisfied with the run, so you don't want to submit it yet. So then you do another run, but then you don't feel satisfied with that. So then I think in that time I was in a voice call with Fear, and after the run he's just like, go ahead and submit it to the boards, and I'm like, sure. So while I have been running since 2017, I didn't actually submit until February 2018.
Gotcha. Okay, that gives me some reference then.
I think if I were to
document. Okay, good. Sorry.
I think if I were to pull out my live split file, it would probably show from like, I think July 15th.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's like specific questions that you would have for me, that I could probably answer those like that, because I feel like I'm just rambling.
No, it's okay. I was opening up another document. I totally forgot to open it beforehand. I was not prepared. I'm looking at the timeline here, right? So, if you joined around 2017, were you around for the Scotto and Zem beef?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So I was there in it for a while. I forget the exact date of. I'll actually look that up now because I know it was part of an any percent trifecta.
Yes. Zem played on PS3, and then Scotto said it was like a scam world record because the main guy was playing on PS2, and he took the world record from him playing on PS3, which was faster.
Oh, is this the one? I just know there's like the notorious comment.
There's a comment in particular? Okay.
Yeah. And that's kind of like what's not 100% trifecta. Is it NG plus trifecta?
I think it was any percent.
Yeah, I think it was any percent. The thumbnail was Eudora. At least I thought. But that Eudora thumbnail is 100%. No, that's all check marks. Maybe it was this one.
You can look for it afterwards. It's not too big a deal.
I was kind of like trying to gather when that time frame was, because I think it was mid 2018, a little bit of 2019. I know it was a time when Tab was back to actively running too. Is it? Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head then.
Okay. Like, well,
Yeah,
we can look at it later. It's not a big deal.
I was there and missed it, and then that's kind of where sub 9 happened in NG Plus from that. Oh yeah, that I think was 2018. Yeah, because long load removal's been around for a while now, and sub 9's been a thing for at least 2 years now.
Okay.
So yeah, I was around for that. I think that was when like I finally got my feet into the community and I was like actively taking part in stuff.
Gotcha.
So I am aware of the beef that did go on there, which, as bad as it sounds, I think it was a good thing for the game because it ignited a lot of competition.
Yes.
Maybe not for the right reasons, but sometimes bad motivation can be motivation regardless.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's competition, right? Competition breeds real, innovation. So, yeah, I think Fear himself said that it's one of the best things that happened to the game, which is kind of funny. The beef is the best thing that happened, but yeah, no kidding. It's like it definitely just drives.
Some of the breakthroughs that have happened have literally been because someone got really pissed off. Like 100% got completely rerouted because Manto took a look at the 100% route before and it was just like, this just effing sucks, and then just like spent like a solid year or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe not a year, but like constantly it was kind of like one of those like back pocket projects he was working on. And like, yeah, that was arisen because he's like, he didn't like what they were doing in original like 100%. Same thing for him when he found the Whoopash Zero Drop originally.
Yeah, tell me about the Zero Drop thing.
So that was funny enough. That was right before. Oh, was it the 2019 relay? I think. Yes, because no IMG was being raced in that relay. It was around the time Fear had already gotten world record. And it was just, I think Manto just kind of put it in the Going Commando channel at one point, and we're all just like, huh, that's really nice. So a lot of us just kind of took to the lab, started like using it, and it's what kind of took Whoopash from being like a 49-second split for the Com Gold down to low 40. I think Fear actually has gotten sub 40 now on on Whoopash Com Gold, but it saved like a solid 10 seconds. Like it made it even more consistent too, because the setup was, there was one setup that Manto uses, a couple others use his setup, but some of us that didn't really have that much success with his setup, Fear found one that worked for him, and like pretty much that gets split up into two setups. Both are the same exact amount of time, pretty much. You're both going to the same spot to aim and turn around. It's just different ways taken. But that was a big thing that happened. And the 2019 relay was actually around the time the record was down to, I think, 24:10 by Fear or something like that. And basically 23 was on the horizon. Now, some people like to think that that was the trick that made 23 possible. Scotto actually missed Zero Drop in that PB.
Oh, interesting.
Like, I think he maybe got a 49 Whoopash or something like that because he missed Zero Drop. So, nice little funny bit of trivia there.
There you go. Speaking of Scotto and Fear, I wanted to ask, because there seems to be like a bit of a story there where Fear was like so close to getting the world record and he just couldn't take it. And then Scotto was like, listen, I'm going to walk away and I'm going to let you get the record. You know, I'm not going to touch the category until you get the record again.
I think that was around the time, like, that was around the 24 2x range.
Yes.
And then, because Fear honestly for a while. Like since I can remember, he's already been like a few like it feels bad saying a few steps ahead, even like in the earlier stages, but it was like he was a couple of times back when the record was like low 27, like low 26, maybe 25. 2650 was his PB. When his record was when the record was like low 25 or something like that, he had like a 26 flat. So he'd been very close a number of times. So I think Scotto, I'm not sure on, I can't think for Scotto here, but
Right.
I would like to think it was more so it's like, my own approach is I think he did step away to, I think, give Fear a bit of motivation to hit it. And then, like, once that mental wall is broken, seeing what Fear can do with that from there. Because, like, once he got that, then that's what, like, ignited this competition between the two.
Yeah.
I think Scotto got 23 before the relay, but then, like, a little bit later on, Fear gets another 23 of his own. And I think the time Scotto had, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure his speedrun.com, like the run there, I'm pretty sure that's actually right before the relay.
His 23:55 is the one from the relay. Yeah.
Yes. Just in time for the relay. I was just like looking at the run description to be sure.
Mhm.
Because that was literally the night before the relay.
Goodness. No kidding. Just in time for the relay.
Yeah, it was actually really funny because I think I had finished up streaming at that point, so I was like kind of watching them. And then Scotto gets that, and we're just all like, regardless of how anyone felt in that moment, it was truly something historic. And then I had to commentate that race the next day, so that was really hyped to just see that being done after the 23 had happened.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a really nice time.
Yeah. So I was talking to Fear last night, and he gave me a couple of things that he wanted me to ask you. I asked him. I said, I've got Torpedo coming on the show tomorrow. Like what should I talk to him about? And he was like, talk to Torpedo about his mindset. I'm not sure what that means. So
Fear and I, like, we have basically, whenever he's not busy, my schedule's at least kind of open with the free time I get. That pretty much all my free time goes into like a lot of gaming related stuff, typically speedrunning. So we tend to have a lot of conversations about like speedrunning, stuff like that. And that's definitely one thing that he said he's considered my biggest strength is when it comes to mindset. I've been trying to teach Fear this sort of mindset himself because he has approached me about it before. In that I'm painfully optimistic when it comes to speedrunning. Where it's like a session is not a waste if you either learn something new out of it, get undeniable proof of improvement out of it, or show some sort of mastery out of it. Like, you're burying resets, but if you got a gold on a split, can you really say the session's a waste? You've improved in some way.
Yeah.
So, like, in that sort of sense, like, for my mindset, I, like, zoom out and look at the bigger picture in that every little bit of something that happens, there's probably something positive you can take out of that and try to adapt it into, like, say if you lose the run to a specific trick, maybe you just kind of went a little bit too far right on your setup and you missed it. Like, Small Grail is a good example. That's one of those where it's like, if you're not like right up on the rail when you flip up onto it, you're going to fall off. If you lose time there, it's like, okay, what did I do wrong there? I was too far away from the rail when I did that. Okay, be closer next time. Stuff like that is kind of like the things I try to, I try to spot why something doesn't work. And if I'm able to gain knowledge out of it, then it's like, it means for me that like, it's really tough for me to get tilted when it comes to like chokes and things like that. Because what's the phrasing? Because I can, in that sort of way, I can spot what went wrong, keep it in my mind for later, and then like, I guess it's that sort of way is I haven't failed. I have found 900 ways that don't work.
Yeah. I get you.
And it's like it's little things like that that I've been trying to show, even for someone like Fear who can get on insane paces a number of times.
Mhm.
I feel bad for the dude because like that dude, he got like in some spots got really disheartened in some of his grinds because of how close he would get, and then real life would happen because he's still very busy. He's in school, plays tennis very actively. So the thing I try to always kind of be like is even if you haven't, even if like you've been choking runs, look at it like this: the thing that'll keep you pushing going. So what if the run died to Smolg? Something had to go right for you to carry that pace that far.
Right.
So like that sort of mindset's like what I try to adopt in my runs. That and that mix of like, there's always something you can take positive out of it.
That's good. It's a good mindset to have. I like that.
That's frankly, that's like I feel like in some other ways, like it's not going to be good to let yourself get tilted. And it's like, I kind of stole that a little bit from Zem because the two things I kind of like borrow are like efficient practice, where it's like, if you're just sitting there kind of like grinding out a split for like an hour, might not be as effective as like doing attempts, but then like kind of keeping notes of why something didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
That and the other big tip of do yourself as many mental favors as possible.
Right.
It's through that sort of mindset. I always feel bad, like kind of like saying something that sounds like a compliment to myself because I sound like I'm like up my own rear. But I feel that is my own biggest strength as a runner, in that it results for me having like a determination that, frankly, as bad as it sounds, feels unparalleled.
No, it's OP, dude. Like
Because
it's
like,
it's good. Use it to your advantage, man. Whatever
because
whatever step up you can get.
2019 sucked for me for speedrunning. I
Mm.
PB'd, I think, Valentine's Day 2019. I did not PB until Halloween.
Oh my gosh.
And
I
it
think someone had mentioned you had a like very long drought where you never PB'd.
nearly 9 months, almost 4,000 attempts, I think.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like that sort of mindset where it's like, there was times I took a mental break because, let's be honest, a drought like that is going to be disheartening.
Yeah.
But in that sort of way, that's where I've kind of like, it cemented my mindset further, which again, that's why like I kind of wanted to like try to reach out to Fear about this, because he's a bit like me in some ways, because like I still have like perfectionist standards,
Mhm.
but it's like that drought for me like really brought me down to earth on like how to analyze my mindset.
Yeah,
And
I imagine.
I know Fear is the same way. He probably is a bit more of a perfectionist than I am. So it's like, I don't know. It's like I consider him like a really close friend. So it's like I want to see like what like. I want to see him like always being like doing his best when it
Yeah,
comes to that.
I get that.
Like, I'll be honest, I don't even care about record or anything. I just want to see people doing the best they can.
Hell yeah. That's a
Oh
sentiment I can get behind. All my
yeah,
friends. I'm like, dude, I want you to be the best you can be.
oh
I don't
yeah.
care if you beat my time. Like, go be the best. Like, by all means.
How funny that the era that surpassed Malice was camaraderie.
Yeah.
Holy crap, that's right. Because Fear and Scotto were, was like, they're good friends, but then also good rivals.
Yeah.
I never looked at it like that.
There you go.
I'm learning something new out of this too as I go.
Hey, listen, we're all learning day by day.
Oh yeah. Like, come to think of it now, actually, it wasn't just Zem's original like how to improve a speedrunning video that helped me out with that.
Mhm.
I realized that's actually a step I was using for myself to improve my mental health.
Hey, there you go.
Where it's like, because without going into too much detail, frankly, I am very acquainted with despair. And something kind of clicked in me back in like 2016 where I'm like, well, if things are going to be the way they are, I may as well at least try to make the most of what I can, regardless of the hand I'm given.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like where I started realizing the parallels I could have to speedrunning.
Yeah.
I never know
Mental game is such a big deal.
I never know how to like articulate my words when it comes to this, because it's like my thought process when it comes to this stuff is like really, really weird. Like stuff that isn't like exactly 1-to-1 makes total sense to me in my mind, but I don't know how to communicate it. That's why like typing up that script for Sable, I wasn't able to type up as much as I like felt I could because I didn't know how to communicate it.
It happens.
Oh yeah.
But we got you on the team now. Now we got you on the team. So one of the perks of agreeing to do an interview means that you get to be in the Discord, and we have I'll give it to you now while I'm thinking about it because I'm gonna forget. I'm not gonna forget. Who knows? But I'm gonna give you the role that lets you see our project folder here.
Oh,
there you go. So not a whole lot of it right now, but towards the bottom you'll see that we have Rack 2 is the top of the list. Underneath general links and stuff. And whenever we start getting a script together, we put that together and we'll get you guys to take a look at it, give us your thoughts, make sure we're on the right track and all that.
Oh yeah, I forgot Scotto's NG0 looking at this.
NG0? What?
Where he, in February 2019, he did NG plus 255 times.
Oh, that one. Yeah. The very, very interesting little fun fact. He had some good fun facts.
This game has had some very bizarre things be found.
Mm-hmm. I believe it.
Like, the only time saves that were ever to my name were literally those. Not really like. No, actually, I think the only notable time save to my name is the armor strat, which was a glitchless thing.
Oh, was it the how if you start off with less than the highest tier of armor, you have the charge boots automatically equipped?
Yes.
Okay.
So how that all worked was, well, simply put, being the casual that I am, someone that carried over into speedrunning, I originally ran no IMG without armor, which typically endgame Rack 2 enemies kind of off you in about 2 or 3 hits, if even that.
Oh gosh.
So imagine that just in NG+. But it was a category like you really don't get hit much anyway unless, I don't know, you fail to clip on Yeetle a bunch. So I didn't think about it much at first. So my mind was like, I don't like seeing Ratchet's face obscured, so I'm going to play with like an armor where I don't have to deal with that. So I've never touched Carbinox armor. And then one time, Scotto literally was in my chat. He's like, I swear, if you lose this run to not having full armor. And then that kind of was a thing that happened. And I'm like, you know, I did PB this, but I probably should have had full armor. So then I budged. I got Electrosteel. Which, that's the second highest armor. Carbinox is that one where it's basically the full suit.
Yeah.
So I kind of ran with it for a while. But like since we were used to using it off of Carbinox, I've noticed before, like whenever I had done like a run and started a new NG+, that it'd be like that. But I'm like, rules say we kind of have to have it off because that would be the fresh file definition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Enter glitchless. That whole category has a little bit of a story of its own, but it was basically, it started out as a category that was, the intent was supposed to be a spite at like GDQ comment section because it's like, oh, it would have been cool if he didn't glitch the game. So I originally did it as a category that was like out of spite, just to be like, hey, these games kind of suck speedrun wise without glitches. But then we found so many creative workarounds that category actually became literal fire. One of the things during that, though, Planet Bolden actually just the entire late game in particular, was with the gravity boots. Because the game doesn't, like, in Carbonox armor and skins, since it doesn't update his foot model because they already have different shoes,
Mhm.
there's boots that will auto-equip for the surfaces that they're on, the grind boots and the gravity boots. But once you walk off those tracks, they don't update back to the charge boots, even if you double tap R1. So you'd have to go in there and like menu it every time.
Oh gosh.
In Glitchless, it ended up saving 30 seconds compared to what I do, because in Glitchless, you only had to put the charge boots back on once, and then they stayed on. So that was like the original application of it. So once that was found, Fear and Manto were the other ones that were grinding that category at the time, because it was like nice change of pace for no IMG. I think Manto since went on to run pretty much every other category. He doesn't run no IMG that much anymore. But coming into NG Plus, as they were doing their file setups, they noticed with the Electrosteel armor on that the charge boots were automatically equipped. And I think Fear approached me and he was like, "This has happened to you, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I always just menued them out because I thought that was the thing." Turns out, no, on those armors, that just kind of happens. So that's what led to the 0.7 second time save, and what made half of the community redo their files for less than a second.
Hey, listen, do what you can. It's a speed run.
Oh yeah. I just think it was really funny that so many people had to redo their files.
It's all because of
Like,
you.
I don't like thriving off of Schadenfreude that much, but that was one of those times I will make an exception. It was just really funny to me.
Yeah.
But it also kind of killed skins, because it's like,
Yeah.
because we run it off the definition of a fresh file, or at least as close to one as you can get.
Mhm.
That means in order to have the charge boot thing in your favor, you have to have the Electrosteel armor on without a skin.
Gotcha.
So, funny little thing for about 0.7 seconds.
Okay.
But it's like, it's free time save. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, let's say we kind of jumped around a bit. What was you could sorry, go ahead.
I was actually just about to ask you, like, if there's specific subjects you want me to talk about, then
Yeah,
I can go in detail on those.
I don't have too many more things. Are there any particular storylines that we haven't talked about yet? Like, we talked about the Zem and Scotto thing. We have a lot of Scotto here, and then Scotto and Bozo, or Scotto and Fear. But anything that I haven't asked you about that I'm maybe not aware of that you want to talk about?
I'm not too sure of what I can think of at the moment when it comes to different storylines.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of been like sort of the case in Rack 1, where it's like you've had a clear champion and then there's someone giving competition.
Mm.
I'd say that only got a little bit more, like, it's more so in like how playtimes are reflected, because I think around the time that Zem was messing with no specials, when he funnily enough got no IMG record in a no specials run.
I heard about that.
I think Scotto was playing like APB or something at the time. So it's like the category typically at the top level has had like usually one active runner. And then like there's times where like their time frames overlap, such as like Fear and Scotto.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Scotto Zem beef was during NG Plus. I don't think it was for no IMG, because I think Zem's PB that's gonna be 3 years old. Oh my god. Yeah, Zem's no IMG PB is from, I think, January 2018.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both. And I had Zem in here a couple days ago, so I'm kind of going off of what he said. So I haven't looked into it too much. So.
Oh, New Year's Day.
Yep. January 1st. Alrighty. Let's see here. Is there any other particular questions that I have for you? Another thing that I was gonna try to get your opinion on is So at some point, Fear, after he got his world record, he started going through the game and like retiming everything, right? Like this section to this section, what's faster, right? Do we go here? Do we go this way? Do we do that? Like he really wanted to really like in every sense of the word, like truly optimize the category. Does that sound about right?
Yes. I'm
Okay.
not too
Want to tell
sure
me
on the
about?
full motivations about that. Like, besides like the, of course, going faster.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was between like Fear and Scotto's, like how they've done things, that I think truly broke the game out of the shell of Ouya finally.
Mm-hmm.
Like for a while, going Commandos NG plus categories kind of had that sort of deal where it's like it's similar enough to Ouya. I think once Fear and Scotto started pushing for like 23 and lower is when it became like an Ouya runner couldn't just come over and get like a top time easily.
Right.
And Fear's own case, again, it comes back to his drive, like his drive for perfection
Mm-hmm.
is, while it can be a double-edged sword for him, I do think it's one of his biggest strengths, but also one of his biggest weaknesses, in my opinion.
Mm.
But like that drive for perfection, it's like if he can find a time save for a level, he's gonna try to realize it. It may not be RTA viable, but that doesn't stop him from going for it on a dead run, which honestly is something admirable because it's like when it comes to doing runs, the dude has some stones.
Yeah. No kidding. He's the one who's trying to push this double charge or midair charge thing, right?
Mm-hmm. So it's like, I think for him it becomes a drive of like trying to reach that perfect run, which I could see like one thing that goes really under the radar, in my honest opinion,
Mm-hmm.
is the amount of effort that Fear has put into that game. A great
Tell me.
example from like more recent times is NG Plus,
Mm-hmm.
because that category, whenever he started grinding it, like really grinding it, the record was, I think, Scotto's 835. I think it was a tie between him and Tohabit. Oh, like it was an 838 tie, and then Scotto got 836. Okay. So I think the community sum of bests at the time were around like an 823. So Fear kind of took that mindset into NG Plus, where he's like he was wanting to find every little time save he can. And let's just say, through nearly just Fear's own efforts, 7 went from TAS only to RTA Pipe Dream to realistic to possible to achieved, almost solely on Fear's efforts. Like, there may be tech that's been found by certain people, but then like he would be that person that would be able to like find, like, this is where I think goes back into his biggest strength is like his drive for perfection.
Right.
He didn't care how hard the trick was. If it saved time, he's gonna go for it. Of course, within reason. Like,
Yeah.
so he's got that drive for perfection to like a realistic degree. I think that's a better way I should word it.
That's a good way to say it, I think.
In that a ton of time saves, like if we were to look at, say, who's an example? I don't want to like single out a specific example. Say if we look like at a 935 NG plus time, which is from like say 2 years ago. It's almost a completely different run, and that's before you factor in swing shot storage as well.
Yep.
Which that had been theorized for a while, but then again, more tech got found that made that time save realized. But through Fear's own efforts is how pretty much the entirety of Sub 8 became a realistic thing. And it's also one of the reasons why I think no IMG community some of best went from like 22.4x. It's down to like 22.08 now, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I think Fear showed me the com golds, and they're almost all him.
22.08.
Yeah. So it definitely makes sense.
The only ones that Fear doesn't have are ship levels, which Felton's a frame perfect trick, and that's kind of load dependent on what time you get.
Mm-hmm.
And Gorn, we still, I frankly don't know what differentiates Scotto's Gorn from others. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, I get you.
So it's like, this is another reason why, like, when Fear was talking to me about mindset before, that's why, for him, like, for a while, he felt like he was in, like, Franz's shadow and Zem's shadow, where it's like, they've achieved these amazing times in their games, but then he felt like, in terms of him being, like, this champion of Rack 2, that he couldn't really hold a torch up so much. But, like, he's since been able to move past that now, because, like, of course, it's time show for it now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, even more so than they already did. In that 22.0x sobs for the community of some of best now. Again, pretty much solely his effort.
Yeah. I think in this video, we're going to show that Fear can stand up, I think, with them in that, because just the amount of work that he's put in it's really, really something else. So
it's odd to describe, because like a lot, like if I were to explain this like in a very concise statement, a lot of No IMG's progression happened outside of the category.
that is an interesting way to say that, and I think I know what you mean.
Because like the original introduction of stuff all happened from Ouya and carried over.
Yep.
Scotto's own experience carried over from No Specials.
Mm-hmm.
Fear's own, like, what No IMG was always his main category, but like I feel like what kicked him into this like modern beast of a speedrunner was like him grinding NG plus.
Yep.
Which he's even said before that this time he has right now is he's well past the level of what his time is.
Yeah, he says he's gonna start grinding for a 22, and I'm like, motherfucker, you better do it now.
I
You better do it in 6 months.
I told him, I'm like, I kind of want you to obsolete the video when it comes out.
I told him I was gonna be mad if he does that, but I won't be mad at him. I appreciate it, but I don't know. I was like, I'm gonna be annoyed.
It's like, kind of like in a whole like, it'd be cool to see the progression happen. I'm that sort of person though, where it's like, I feel like if that would be funny, then yeah, I'd roll with it. I think Franz actually did that, come to think of it. I think within 2 weeks he got like an 18.
I forget how long it was. It was a couple of days, I think. And I think he said that the video itself was what kind of inspired him. So.
And then he took our thumbnail.
I forgot. Yeah. Oh, France.
I did not forget.
Oh yeah, the Rack community. We're a group of memers in like the best way possible.
Yep. We love you for it.
Like, it's definitely something that's been like really cool to see his progression though, because Fear and I honestly have actually been running for about the same amount of time. I took a break from November 2017 till February 2018. Mm-hmm. But like for the most part, we both kind of joined the community around July 2017.
Right.
And then we've pretty much almost actively grinded the games alongside each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, heck, my streaming schedule is literally based around his. We typically VC.
Yeah. I think Fear was telling me the same thing, that you guys spend a lot of time chatting with each other. You guys get lumped in together.
Yeah. It's like, typically if one of us is live, the other's in the VC. Or we're usually both in each other, like in the same VC, both live.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
ride or die, homies.
It's like the way I look at it as well. Like for my own grind, it's not even to grind for world record or anything. Like, of course, I do want to be top level, but it's like I want to be able to stand with him as equals, because like that dude's on an insane level. I wish I could emulate that.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay. All right. Good.
I don't know if there's like other questions you might have for me, or like any other little bits you're curious about.
No, I think that's all I've got for right now. I'm still in this like, where do I want to go with this kind of phase? So I don't have any more questions for you at the moment. I don't know if we'll do a touch-up interview. Probably not. We don't generally do those, but if I have anything else, I'll be happy to get you on the phone.
That's
but I
fine.
think that's it.
I work like 5 to 11 tomorrow, but then after that, I've got like 4 days off.
Okay. Yeah. I'll be busy, I'm sure, but we'll look into it.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, Torpedo.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming on, man.
My apologies if I've rambled on a fair bit.
It's okay. Listen, I don't mind ramblers. It's usually the opposite. I don't really like people who won't speak because I don't get anything out of it. No, I'm not. Sorry, that kind of came out weird. I love chatty people.
Oh yeah, it's like, because at the very worst, you have a lot of information.
Mm-hmm. Yes. There's definitely been some interviews. No offense, but Scotto was kind of like that, where I felt like I'm like, all right, so what's this? And he gave me like, he's very a man of few words.
Yeah, he's outspoken, the word to say for someone that like kind of just like says it, but like is to the point about it.
I think maybe blunt would be better.
I think so.
It's just to the point. It's very much like no frills. Like, this is what it is.
Yeah, like he, in that sort of way, he's like very good at explaining that.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, that like I actually credit a lot of my like original knowledge of like learning stuff from OIMG to Scotto.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Because he, in that sort of sense, he'll kind of tell you, okay, this is why this is wrong, and this is what you could do to improve it. In that sort of like constructive criticism the word?
There's definitely like pointing out like this is what's wrong and this is what you need to do.
Because I mean, I don't like constructive criticism makes it sound like it's a very pointed statement, but it's more like if he's able to offer his aid as a resource, then he will.
There you go.
And in that sort of way, it's like I think that's also what helps Fear originally like up himself in terms of like level as a runner. I know definitely that's how I've learned a lot of the modern no IMG stuff back in 2017, 2018. So, and that sort of that you worded it, yeah, he's very to the point in what he says.
Yeah. All right. Well, to that point, let's go ahead and end the recording here. So